5 days ago, my best friend posted our story of taking shrooms on Halloween, and I thought I should stop by and drop my side of the story. As you know if you read his post, it was me and my two best friends G and B. Me and G have a tradition of always doing something special for our friend B's birthday, which so happens to land on Halloween. We tend to just get fucked up and have fun, and we thought we should do shrooms together. Now keep in mind that I've done shrooms about 4 times prior to this, and it was always around the same dosage, usually 3.5, but I'd done 4 once and everything went swell. I usually kept a cool mind and used logic to control my emotions and push all the anxiety aside. Now into the story, we decide it will all go down at my house. I have a very religious mother, but she respects my privacy, and my room is big in a perfect location to trip and have fun. B has done shrooms once before, about 3 grams, and he'd enjoyed the experience and wanted to do more. We all decided we'd do 4 grams each, given G had lots of experience and that I'd done 4 before no problem. This was a mistake. These mushrooms were much more potent than any I'd taken before. We decide to crush the mushrooms up and enjoy them with a good old peanut butter and jelly sandwich. After we'd eaten them, we start discussing what movie to watch, eventually landing on the movie Get Out. I know, watching a horror movie probably wasn't the best idea, but I thought given I've already seen this movie and know everything about it, I should be okay. We start the movie and everything's going amazing. About 30 minutes later, I start to feel extremely nauseous and can't stand the feeling of laying down, so I sit in a chair to continue watching the movie. 20 minutes go by and I still feel sick, but I thought the come up always sucks and then it'll feel great. Eventually it went away, but then I felt extremely tired. I'd never felt tired while on shrooms, so I found it weird, but said hey, best to not overthink and roll with it. Eventually I found myself laying in my bed trying to fall asleep, but I couldn't because the movie was blaring through the TV and my friends were laughing really loud. As I laid there trying to fall asleep, I was getting closed-eyed visuals for the first time, and not pretty ones. The audio and soundtrack from the horror movie was distorting every visual I saw, turning them into blood and gore. I wanted to turn the movie off because I knew this wasn't right, but I saw my friends laughing and enjoying their time with the movie, and I couldn't bring myself to do it, so I tried to fall asleep again. The visuals were driving me insane, and all I could do was try to force my brain to think of something to calm me down. I kept trying to force myself to think of my girlfriend's face and how happy she makes me so I could tap into that euphoric feeling, but everything I tried would get distorted by the audio coming from the movie. Every scream and every soundtrack from the movie, I was living it and seeing nothing but gore, bodies completely mutilated. Eventually the movie ended and I breathed the biggest sigh of relief. Finally, I could enjoy my time with my friends, but I was wrong. My friend G always likes to go on walks when he's on shrooms and immediately said, I'm going for a walk. B intended to join him. I did not want to go on a walk. I was still shaking from the visuals, so I told them to go on without me. I sat in my room thinking about what I just experienced and realized I needed to calm myself down, so I put on Lovely Day by Bill Withers. Beautiful song to listen to on shrooms, definitely recommend. Eventually I felt at ease again and felt like I was in a really good mindset, so I decided to join B and G outside. The walk to catch up to them felt extremely short, surprisingly, but I thought nothing of it. For the most part, when we were walking outside, everything felt great. It was just the usual laughing and having fun we always have, and I thought the worst was behind me. About an hour or 2 later, we decide to head to G's car to listen to some music and talk. B at this point is jumping from sentence to sentence and mumbling, but apart from that he seemed fine, just slower than usual. This is when it all took a turn. As we sat in the car, I felt extremely fuzzy all over my body, and trying to move felt like I was lifting boulders with each movement I made, so I just tried my best to enjoy the music. It's at this point I started to feel like I was getting stuck in a loop. Every time I would look at G, he would look at me, so I would look away. Then I would look at him again to test if I was still in a loop, and once again he would look at me. All the meanwhile, this cycle keeps happening. Our friend B is in the backseat mumbling, doing his best to form a sentence. It was at this point my visuals spiked to an extreme. I started hallucinating sharp and rigid geometric shapes intertwining in a beautiful dance, and I felt as if I had broken out of a simulation. that this was the true world and that me and everyone on Earth are the same person. Every person is a different version of me, living their complete separate life, but deep down they are me and I am them. This whole scenario completely messed with my head. I thought I was going to be stuck there forever, but eventually we get out the car. We head to the back of my house to just talk. Soon after this, I would start to black in and out, almost like I was on autopilot. The last thing I remembered was stumbling on a branch and grabbing onto B as to not hit the floor. After that, I was gone. I was suddenly by my front door and could see B and G discussing how to get inside without being loud. I, in my state of non-conscious, decided to just go in and leave them outside. Suddenly, we were all in my room trying to find a show or game to play, and I remember stumbling all over the place. Every inch of my body felt extremely heavy, and so I was dragging myself on the floor trying to find a stable position to sit in. After this, I got extremely loud according to G. He kept trying to tell me to calm down and keep my voice down. At this point, I felt like I was two different people, sober and logical me, and whatever I was while tripping. Every time G would tell me to calm down, sober and logical me would try to tell him that my mum doesn't mind if we're loud and that we won't get kicked out. But given my state, every time I would try to explain this, it would come out as aggressive and like I was trying to fight. I had no control of what was coming out my mouth. Eventually I blacked out and was suddenly banging on G's car. I was so confused by this that I thought I had fallen asleep during the movie and everything I was experiencing was a dream. I was a passenger in my own body. I kept speaking to them in Spanish because once again I thought they were me and I was them, so surely they understand Spanish. Once again I black out and find myself trying to catch up to G walking down the road. Eventually I catch up to him and he turns and asks me, "Hey, do you like video games?" I said, "Yeah, I like Spider-Man." So he convinces me to head home and boot up Spider-Man so we can play. As I'm walking back home, I start tearing up, but not like a sad tearing up, but one of anger, like the tearing up you do after your mum yelled at you as a kid. I don't understand why I felt this way, who or what I was angry at. I kept repeating, "Leave me then," just like everybody else. I was suddenly back inside my house asking my grandma and mum for forgiveness, asking them why they wouldn't talk to me. Thankfully, they are very heavy sleepers and had no idea I was there. Eventually, I walked towards the living room where our newborn puppies were sleeping, and I just stared at them for a solid 10 minutes. Then I blacked out. When I came back to, I was laying in my bed half asleep, having major audio and visual hallucinations. I kept hearing the voice of G yelling, "Watch out," and seeing myself driving his car recklessly on the freeway heading for a collision with a truck. Then I heard sirens and cops yelling at me to get down. I was still in bed and in my room, so I assumed I was trapped in my room mentally, but my body was out causing havoc. I then heard a cop telling me to put down the gun, and then boom, gunshot in my stomach, then my hand, next my neck and mouth, and finally my heart. I thought this was it. I went crazy and died and was going to be the next crazy loser on the news, and that I'd ruined everything, not for myself but for my family and, more importantly, my girlfriend. I felt myself bleeding out, and then like the snap of a finger, I woke up in my dark room at 4 a.m. alone, sweaty and in pain. Apparently I had been barefoot the whole time I was outside and didn't realize. I took this as confirmation that it was all a dream and that I fell asleep during the movie, but this isn't the end. I realized G and B were gone, which was strange since they were supposed to stay the night, and then it hit me like a truck. It was real. In a flash, all those bits of small memories started flooding my head. I thought I'd killed my best friends, my girlfriend, and my family. I'd gone completely insane and killed the puppies and went on a rampage, and this was hell, endlessly stuck in my room forever with no way out. But then I started hearing voices and sirens. My mother calling my name behind my bedroom door, pleading with me to come out and surrender and to not make this any worse. I started panicking, thinking I'd killed my friends and I was shot in the neck and the cops had the house surrounded and that this was it. My life had led up to killing my best friends and either going to prison for the rest of my life or letting myself bleed out from the gunshot wound. I spent 30 minutes screaming and pleading with the cops to understand that I thought it was a dream, that this wasn't on purpose. Going between thinking I was dying or about to serve life. Suddenly, it all stopped. The visuals, the audio hallucinations, the panicking, just silence. I had sobered up in an instant and walked out my room and realized it was all a bad trip. Everything was okay, and more importantly, everybody was okay. I texted B and G to make sure they were okay and fell asleep. This whole trip changed everything in my life. More importantly, made me realize how bad my mental state was and that I need to take better care of myself. This could have turned out much worse, but thankfully everything was okay in the end, and I'm forever thankful for whatever it was watching over me that night. I still have nightmares from that night, but it's gotten way better, and I'm happier than ever. I hope everyone uses this as a reminder to trip responsibly, and more importantly, don't trip if you're suffering from depression or are in any kind of bad mental state.